Hello students, this is the part 4 of Force and Laws of Motion. In our third part of Force and Laws of Motion, we have studied about the tendency of an object to remain in its state of rest or of uniform linear motion is known as inertia. Also, we have seen there the types of inertia as inertia of rest, inertia of motion and inertia of direction. In this part, we will discuss the following topics. First, what is momentum? Second law of motion, and third one is mathematical formulation of second law of motion. So let us start. Before going in detail with this term momentum, let us understand some examples. Our first example, that if we consider a cricket ball and a tennis ball both moving with same velocity, then you know that the more force is required to catch cricket ball than tennis ball. Or in other words, if I ask you which ball would harm your palm more, then obviously it is clear that the cricket ball, because of its heavier mass, would harm your palm more. Or we can say that the impact of the cricket ball is more on your palm as compared to the tennis ball because of its heavier mass. So we can say that the impact produced by an object depend on its mass, because here you can see that the cricket ball has more impact on your palm because of its heavier mass. It means the impact produced by an object depend on its mass. Let us see one more example. In this example, we have considered a bullet fired from a gun which may kill a person in its path. So here we know that the mass of the bullet is very less. But when it is fired from a gun, then its velocity is very high. And because of its high velocity, its impact is such that it can even kill a person in its path. So here it is clear that the impact of the bullet come from because of its high velocity. So we can say that the impact produced by an object depend on its velocity also, not only mass but also on velocity. So from this first example, it is clear that the impact produced by an object depend on its mass, and from second example it is clear that the impact produced by an object depend on its velocity also. So considering these two examples, we can say that the impact produced by an object depend both on its mass as well as velocity. So in this context, a term was introduced to define the effect of motion or the impact produced by an object, and that term is known as momentum. So the momentum of an object can be defined as the product of its mass and velocity. Let us suppose an object of mass m moving with velocity v, then its momentum is given by momentum is equals to mass into velocity, and it is represented by small p. So we can write small p is equals to m into v. So this is the required formula for momentum of an object of mass m which is moving with velocity v. Now we know that momentum is equals to mass into velocity, that is we can write p is equals to m into v. So from this expression it is clear that the momentum is the product of mass of an object and the velocity with which it is traveling. And you know mass is a scalar quantity, but velocity is a vector quantity which has both magnitude as well as direction. And momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity. So momentum is also a vector quantity because we know velocity is a vector quantity. It means momentum has also the magnitude as well as direction. So the magnitude of momentum is given by the product of mass and velocity of the object, and the direction of momentum is same as the direction of the velocity. So we can write momentum is vector quantity and direction of momentum of an object is same as the direction of velocity. Now let us see SI unit of momentum. Now again, with the help of formula, we can write SI unit of momentum is equals to SI unit of mass into SI unit of velocity. And you know SI unit of mass is kilogram and SI unit of velocity is meter per second. So we can write SI unit of momentum is equals to kilogram into meter per second. So SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second. Now we will see Newton's second law of motion. But before going in detail with Newton's second law of motion, let me recall you Newton's first law of motion. So Newton's first law of motion states that an unbalanced force is required to change the state of rest or of uniform linear motion of an object. Suppose there is an object which is moving with certain initial velocity, and when an unbalanced force acts on it, then its velocity is going to change. As the velocity is going to change, it means there must be an acceleration, because we know acceleration is the rate of change of velocity. So this acceleration is produced in the object because of the unbalanced force. And Newton's second law of motion gives the relationship between this unbalanced force and the acceleration produced in the object because of that force. So let us see the statement of Newton's second law of motion. So Newton's second law of motion states that the rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force, and the change in momentum takes place in the direction of applied force. Now students, you know when an unbalanced force acts on an object, then its velocity is going to change. And if velocity is changing, then momentum will also change, because we know momentum is defined as the product of mass and velocity. So if velocity is changing, then momentum will also change. So second law of motion states that the time rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied unbalanced force. Let us understand this concept with an example. Suppose there is an object of mass m which is moving with initial velocity u when there is no unbalanced force acting on it. But when an unbalanced force starts acting on it, then what happens? It attains a velocity v, as you can see from this figure. It attains velocity v in time t. So this is the initial condition and this is the final condition after applying the force. Now in this condition, we can write the initial momentum of the object as product of mass, that is m, and initial velocity, that is u. So we can write initial momentum is equals to m into u. And in this condition, again we can write final momentum is equals to mass, that is m, into final velocity v. So final momentum can be written as m into v. Now the change in momentum can be calculated as final momentum minus initial momentum. So we can write change in momentum is equals to mv, that is final momentum, minus initial momentum mu. So this is the change in momentum in time t. Now students, rate of change of momentum is defined as change in momentum divided by the time in which that change has occurred. So rate of change of momentum is equals to mv minus mu upon t. Now according to second law of motion, we can write this unbalanced force. Here you can see the unbalanced force F. So this unbalanced force F is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum, and rate of change of momentum is defined as change in momentum divided by time, that is mv minus mu divided by t. So we can say F is directly proportional to mv minus mu divided by t. This is the statement of second law of motion, and this change in momentum takes place in the direction of the applied force. Now we will see mathematical formulation of second law of motion, which gives the relationship between the unbalanced external force and the acceleration produced due to this force. Mathematical formulation of second law of motion. Here again we have considered the same example as you have seen in previous slide. So the statement is, let an object of mass m be initially moving along a straight line with a velocity u. As you can see from this figure, this object of mass m is initially traveling with a velocity u. A constant force is applied so that it is uniformly accelerated to a velocity v in time t. Again from this figure it is clear that when a constant force F is applied on this object, then it is uniformly accelerated with a velocity v in time t. Now this is the initial condition and this is the final condition. Again we can write the initial momentum of the object. Let us say p1 is equals to mass of the object into initial velocity. So initial momentum is equals to m into u because initial velocity is u. And final momentum of the object, that is p2, can be written as mass of the object into final velocity v, that is m into v. So the total change in momentum is equals to final momentum p2 minus initial momentum p1. So putting these values, we have mv minus mu. By taking m as common, we can write m into within bracket v minus u. So this is the total change in momentum. Now, as this change in momentum takes place in time t, so again rate of change of momentum can be written as change in momentum divided by time, that is p2 minus p1 divided by t, and it is equals to m into v minus u divided by t. So this is the rate of change of momentum. Now students, you know, according to Newton's second law of motion, the rate of change of momentum of an object is proportional to the force applied on it. Hence we can write the force that I have applied, that is F, is proportional to this rate of change of momentum m into v minus u divided by t. So F is proportional to, this sign is read as proportional to. So the force F is proportional to m into v minus u divided by t. Now students, if we have to change this proportionality sign with equality sign, then we have to multiply this right hand side term, that is m into v minus u divided by t, with a constant term. So this expression can be again written as F is equal to k into m into v minus u divided by t, which is again equal to km into v minus u divided by t. Let us say this is an equation 1. Now here k is the constant of proportionality, and we know that the object is moving with initial velocity u, and when a force F is applied on it, then its velocity becomes v. So the change in velocity is v minus u. Final velocity minus initial velocity, that is v minus u. And change in velocity divided by time is known as acceleration. So we can write acceleration a is equals to change in velocity divided by time, that is v minus u divided by t. So again equation 1 can be written as F is equals to k into m into a, because in place of v minus u divided by t, we can write the acceleration a. So we have the required equation F is equals to k into m into a. Let us say this is an equation 2. But this is not the final equation for Newton's second law. In order to obtain the final equation for Newton's second law, it is defined as when unit magnitude of force is applied on an object of unit mass, then it produces a unit acceleration. That is, we can say magnitude of force is defined as unity, that is F is equals to 1, if mass m is equals to 1 and acceleration a is also equal to 1. Substituting all these values in equation 2, that is F is equals to kma, we have, in place of F we can write 1 is equals to k into, in place of m again we can write 1, and again in place of a we can write 1. So from this expression we have k is equals to 1. So we have the value of k is equals to 1. Substituting this value of k in equation 2, that is F is equals to kma, we have F is equals to m into a. This is the final expression for Newton's second law of motion. From this equation we can say the force acting on an object is equal to the product of mass of the object and the acceleration produced in it by the force. So This is the required equation for second law of motion. Thank you, students. In our next part of force and laws of motion, we will see some applications of Newton's second law of motion and also solve numericals based on momentum and second law of motion. Thank you.